Since its founding in the early 1960s, snack company Frito Lay has been behind some of the most popular snacks that we see on the grocery store shelves today, including Cheetos, Sun Chips, Ruffles, Tostitos, as well as Doritos, to name a few. But these snacks didn't become popular overnight, as the company would invest millions of dollars in advertising campaigns, one of which landed the brand in hot water with musician Tom Waits. Waits, for his part, had been long pursued by companies to license his music for everything ranging from tennis shoes to motorhomes, going as far as to saying thanks but no thanks to almost everything. As to why he didn't want to license his music to promote commercial products, he would be quoted as saying, "Commercials are an unnatural use of my work. It's like having a cow udder sewn to the side of my face. It's painful and humiliating." While adding to Musician magazine, "I really am against people who allow their music to be nothing more than a jingle for jeans or Bud, but I say, good, okay, now I know who you are, because it's always money." However, in 1981, Waits would lend his voice to a dog food commercial, as you can see here.
As dog travels through the envied and often tempting world of man, there is one thing above all that tempts him most, the taste of meat. And that is why Purina makes Butcher's Blend. Butcher's Blend is the first dry dog food with 3 tempting meaty tastes. Beef, liver, and bacon, all in one bag. So come on, deliver your dog from the world of temptation. It's the world of Butcher's Blend, the first dry dog food with 3 meaty tastes.
Years later, he would express some regret, claiming that he'd rather have a lead enema than sell out again, and later reveal, "I was down on my luck and needed the money, so I agreed to do a voiceover for a dog food commercial. I always liked dogs. Artistically, I sold myself down the river. I felt I'd betrayed something in me." In 1988, Frito Lay was about to launch a new type of chip called the Salsa Rio Doritos, which contained Latin-inspired flavors, albeit they were simulated. The company would hire an advertising agency named Tracy Locke from Dallas, Texas, to come up with a radio promo, and as part of that campaign, Tracy Locke approached Waits to see if they could use his song Step Right Up. The irony of the whole situation was that Step Right Up was Waits' commentary on advertising and consumerism. He of course said no, so the agency came up with a new plan: get a Tom Waits impersonator to voice the ad while using Step Right Up as an inspiration. The court documents in the lawsuit I'll talk about in a few minutes shed some light on how the whole thing went down. The ad agency auditioned a number of potential singers who shared Waits' grovelly style, one of which was a man named Stephen Carter, who was a musician from Dallas, who was also a self-admitted Tom Waits fan and had even covered his music during live shows for the past 10 years. When Carter auditioned for the commercial, Tracy Locke's staff were so shocked at how similar he sounded to Waits, and the musical director initially thought he wouldn't get the gig as his voice sounded too similar and could land the company in legal trouble. But despite those concerns, Carter got the job. The company had also used another voice actor for a more generic jingle as a backup, but Frito Lay wanted Carter to voice the ad. Fast forward to the day that the commercial was set to air nationally on radio stations across the country, and Tracy Locke's executive producer, still concerned about legal issues, spoke to the company's attorney, who told him there would be a high-profile risk of legal action. However, the lawyer would claim that the lawsuit likely wouldn't be anything to worry about because a singer's style of music is not protected and Tom Waits wasn't that well known, at least not as well known as Bette Midler. It had turned out the same executive producer had previously reached out to Waits to do a Diet Coke commercial, remarking, "You never heard anybody say no so fast in your life." Tracy Locke would end up presenting executives at Frito Lay with both versions of the advertisement and notified them of the legal risks and that the advertising agency would indemnify Frito Lay for any potential legal action brought against the company, and so the chip company chose Carter's version. As for why I mentioned Bette Midler, well, Tracy Locke's legal team was aware of a previous court case that had happened nearly 6 months prior involving actress Bette Midler, who ended up suing Ford for $400,000. The actress and singer claimed the company misappropriated her voice without her permission to sell their vehicles. Ford would use the song "Do You Want to Dance?", which was a track that Midler had covered but never wrote. While Ford had obtained the rights to use the song, they had asked Bette Midler if they could use her cover, but the actress said no, so instead the company hired one of her backup singers to do the song in the same style as her. The The court would end up ruling in Midler's favor, claiming that despite not mentioning her name or showing her image, Midler was highly identifiable in the commercial. Even prior to Waits' case, non-singing celebrities including Woody Allen had won cases against businesses that used lookalikes in ads. It's not to say that you can't impersonate someone in an ad, but according to the LA Times, commercials were required to air disclaimers. The Midler case would set a precedent that it was illegal to deliberately imitate the voice of a celebrity or a singer in an advertisement when the voice is distinctive and widely known. For Tom Waits' case, it became a question of whether he was well known and famous enough. Here's the radio ad that Frito Lay aired in 1988.
There's a new tortilla chip called Salsa Rio Doritos. It's buffo, bafo, bravo, gung-ho, tally-ho, but never mellow.
Tickle your taste on the tangy tomatoes, flavor peppers, oodles of onions and sassy spices. A new Salsa Rio Doritos.
Now that tongue tickler's quite a stickler. It's confounding, resounding, perplexing, complexing, involuted, convoluted, but it sure feels good. All right.
Tickle your taste on the tangy tomatoes, flavor peppers, oodles of onions and sassy spices. A new Salsa Rio Doritos.
Yeah, tickle your taste. You try 'em, buy 'em, get 'em, got 'em. Everybody go up and go to Rio. Salsa Rio, everybody.
Taste on the tangy tomatoes, flavor peppers, oodles of onions and sassy spices. A new Salsa Rio Doritos.
Yeah, try 'em, buy 'em, get 'em, got 'em. Everybody go. You don't say so and so and so and so it goes. Salsa Rio flavored Doritos, brand tortilla chips. Yeah. Thank you.
Waits, for his part, heard the ad when he appeared on an LA radio station, and during a commercial break, the DJ played the spot. Waits was shocked to hear the voice actor's impression of him recalling to the LA Times. Whoever was going to hear this and obviously identify the voice would also identify that I in fact had agreed to do a commercial for Doritos. It embarrassed me. I had to call all my friends that if they hear this thing, please be informed that it is not me. Despite the phone calls, Waits soon started to hear from his friends first, who thought it was him voicing the ad. Then in November of 1988, Waits would sue Frito Lay, alleging claims of a misappropriation of his voice, which was a California law, and false endorsements, which could lead consumers to think that he endorsed the product, when in fact he didn't. Waits wouldn't sue for copyright infringement as he did not own the rights to the song Step Right Up, as that belonged to his old label. The Tom Waits impersonator wouldn't be named in the lawsuit as he was paid on scale, and in a funny twist, Carter would become one of Waits' main witnesses, with the musician telling an interviewer in 1999, "This guy from Texas got paid $300 to do me." That was his specialty anyways, that he does the perfect impersonation of me, and they did this whole thing around Step Right Up, and every now and then they would say Fritos or whatever, and afterwards the guy felt so bad, he came out as our star witness. Waits would testify in the case that he was, and I quote, angry, very angry, upon hearing the radio ad, and he would refer to it as, and I quote, a corn chip sermon, saying somebody had studied me a little too close. It was the equivalent of all the scars, dimples, the lines all being in the same place. It was a little spooky, he'd remark. Waits' legal team would cite the Bette Midler case in their lawsuit, while Frito Lay would claim that Tom Waits wasn't that well known and was not as popular as Bette Midler. The trial would last about a month and would see jurors listen to tapes of Waits and another deep-voiced artist, Louis Armstrong. Most of the jurors, according to the LA Times, hadn't heard of Tom Waits or knew his music, and one juror was interviewed by the LA Times who told the paper, "The uniqueness of Mr. Waits' voice speaks for itself, and the testimony spoke for itself." Another juror interviewed by the paper would state, "The first time I saw him, I thought this was a criminal case and he was a criminal, and when he left the court the first time, we thought he was getting away. But now we love his music and him. His music is deep." The jury would rule in Waits' favor, awarding him $2.6 million in damages, and Frito Lay would appeal the ruling and lost yet again, but by 1992 the money still hadn't found its way to the musician, with him telling an interviewer, "I haven't seen a dime. These things go on forever and forever. Never get involved in litigation. Your hair will fall out, your bones will turn to sand, and it will still be going on. It was like throwing a rock through a window, but you wait for 5 years to hear the sound. Litigation is like picking up a glass of water with a prosthetic hand. It's very frustrating and you'll never get it to your lips. But when you have to, you have to. If somebody burnt down your house, you'd have to do something about it." However, by 1999, he seemed to have finally gotten paid, joking with an interviewer how he spent the money, saying, $2.5 million, spent it all on candy. My mom told me I was foolish. I've always been foolish when it comes to money. Of course, other companies soon incurred the legal wrath of Tom Waits and his legal team, including Levi's Jeans, who in 1993 used a cover of one of his tunes. Again, while Waits didn't own the copyright to the song, he sued them for false endorsement, and Levi's would end up issuing a written apology to the singer, and the same thing would happen with car makers Audi and Opel. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Story sticker.